council. I would like to give a warning to all council members that there was some audio video issues that may or may not be resolved, but if we have any problems, I'm going to do my best to fix them in the meantime. So we are currently streaming out, and we should be able to hear anyone who's calling in today, because I believe we have some speakers today. But we are recording and we are ready.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call to order this Haslett City Council meeting, October the 2nd, 2023 at 7:04, I think. Let me confirm that. Well, I want to use my clock, 7:01 p.m. There is a quorum present. All members of the council are in the chambers. Item 2 is invocation and pledge of allegiance. If you bow your head with me and then stand for the pledge of allegiance. Father in heaven, we thank you for all your wonderful gifts. We thank you for we particularly thank you for the weather and what's coming in a few days. We appreciate that so much. We thank you for your guidance and for your love. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are no proclamations. So we'll go to item 4, citizen participation and comments. Is there anybody in the chambers that would like to address the governing body on any topic? Is anyone online? All right, given there's no one in the chambers or online, we'll go to item 5, items of community interest. One is Haslett is hiring. We are in search of a city secretary. Our interim, Katrina White, is doing a fabulous job. She is working double time, but she's doing a good job. Parks and ground, we are looking for parks and ground maintenance worker 1, as well as water maintenance workers 1 and 2. We go to item 6, update on activities and projects. And before we go off to that, I have a note here, items of community interest. And one is, I know of big interest, and is this traffic mitigation plan that we are in the middle and near completing. And particularly, there's about Blue Mound Road and some speed bumps and stop signs we put on Blue Mound Road. Those speed bumps and stop signs were placed for safety reasons. We had a tremendous amount of pass-through traffic, lots of large trucks coming down that route. And it is a residential collector street. The only thing on that street is residences, except for on the far end of Blue Mound Road. We got 4 lots over there, 3 lots that are exercising some logistic type business of storing Walmart containers and trailers and things of that nature. Other than that, probably about half our population is located on Blue Mound Road in one way or the other. Not quite half. So they were put out for safety reasons, particularly the speed bumps. Let me talk about the speed bumps. So speed bumps were placed out there, one, because it is just unfortunate that people nowadays, I'm not saying it's whomever, I think all of us probably are guilty of it, don't particularly respect speed limits. Everybody is in a hurry, and it's just the pace of life we are all trying to maintain. It would not be unusual to see someone doing 50 plus miles an hour or even faster, even in that front stretch of Blue Mound Road during the weekdays as well as on the weekends. The stop signs, so let me, before I leave the speed bumps, they were put down to slow down. Slow down, please. There was a fourth speed bump placed on John Day Road, about 20, 25 feet just before you get to a stop sign. That came about because of multiple requests from citizens about what was happening, that being a long straightaway. And so someone, particularly in the mornings, they are traveling south on John Day Road and watching the train. There's a lot of train activity in the morning, and their objective is to beat that train and don't have to wait for the crossing. What was happening is people were not stopping. They were making a racetrack turn, a bat turn around that corner, not stopping for the stop sign, and there were multiple near collisions. That was the reason that speed bump was put there. Okay, at least you're going to slow down for this speed bump, and hopefully you'll stop at the stop sign. I'll say this. All of that worked. With regard to the stop signs on Blue Mound Road, there were 2 of them placed at the intersection of Blue Mound Road at Watercrest. There is an intersection, a four-way or throughway, four-way stop. I don't recall the name of the road coming out of Watercrest, but it's a four-way stop. Then another was stop sign placed at Intermodal and Blue Mound Road. The one at Blue Mound Road and Intermodal was placed there because it's at the crest of a hill, and it served to break the traffic up. That was the point of it. And then the one at the four-way stop down Blue Mound Road at Watercrest, and I think that Bruce Street goes through Maxwell Drive into the Maxwell Estate area, is there was more traffic there, people coming and going in and out of subdivisions, and also to break the traffic up. All of that has worked very well. I've gotten reports from Public Works, who are out there much of the time. I have gotten reports from the Sheriff's Department that they have noticed, they have seen a great reduction in speed and a great reduction in the semi-truck traffic that traveled Blue Mound Road, or did. You rarely see one much anymore. Now, I know there's a lot of activity on the very east end of Blue Mound Road. I'll write this down. Senate Bill 2038 was not our friend. It was passed this last 88th legislature. Doggone it, I wished I had the name of the senator and the representative that introduced it, but they were both from the Houston area. And Houston, if you didn't know, doesn't have any zoning ordinance. It's just a free-for-all. So that was not anybody's friend. ETJ, it gave them a capability, people who own ETJ land or live in it. If it were a subdivision, in this case, it's just an owner or owners, at most 2, have all written a letter to the city saying they want to withdraw from our ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. The point of extraterritorial jurisdiction that is still county land or county jurisdiction, but with that property or that county property that is immediate to a city's city limit for a certain distance, the city was able to extend I'll say a minimum aspect of their subdivision ordinance to help mitigate that, so that ETJ, imagine that was a buffer between the corporate city limits and Pure County. Well, thanks to the senator, I wished I had his name, but Senate Bill 2038, you can find it, you Google it, who introduced that, and they got passed. Was not anybody's friend. So it gave people the capability to pull out, such as the operations out on Blue Mountain Road, and do what you want to. Do what you want to. Well, we're working different aspects. I've been in communication with our state rep, Nate Schatzline, in detail on this. I've had Commissioner Fickus come out here, taking him on a driving tour, showing firsthand of what's happening. Talking with other county higher level administrators with regard to the problem, and the city of Fort Worth, and we have put out the problem, and we're all working together on it. We're all working together. Our goal is in the 89th legislature coming up, and I guess about a year and 8 months or so from now, is to try to get a legislative change to that to correct the ill effects that it is having. So I just wanted to talk, the whole purpose of this was to talk about the traffic mitigation, the speed bumps, why they were put there, and the effects that it has had. Do I like speed bumps? No, I don't. But because we're out here, quote unquote, in the country, is there's not a whole lot of attention given to traffic signs, and really about hardly any to traffic speed limit. I did realize, I had to come to the realization that is unfortunately physical barriers is what people do respect, and that's what that is. The senator that introduced Senate Bill 2038. Write this name down and wear him out. Is Senator Paul Bettencourt. Bettencourt. Does anybody know who the rep was?
The rep. The rep.
That's okay.
Yes, I do. Cecil Bell.
What's his name?
Representative Cecil Bell.
Cecil Bell?
Bell.
B-E-L-L?
Out of Montgomery County.
Cecil Bell. Remember that name. I guess the Developer Coalition has a very strong lobby group. I saw it, and I told every one of them, our senators, our representative, and other administrative officials, that I saw this as government by the developer for the developer. Friends, it's government by the people for the people. So, we're working on it. Let's move on.
Hey, one other thing, Mayor, before we move off of 5, go back. I know it's not listed on here. Just want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, October 3rd, is the National Night Out.
Oh,
From
yes.
6 to 8 p.m. I'd encourage, it's always a big event, weather permitting. Weather looks good for tomorrow night. Great place to find information for organizations within the city and nearby the city. So, lots of good folks come out there, lots of booths. a lot of good information you can gain on things you may not know that are around us. So come on out 6 to 8 o'clock tomorrow night at Community Park over here.
Thank you, Councilmember Hort. Very good.
Thank-
Staring me in the face and I didn't even.
It's all right. It's a good event.
Tomorrow night, it's too close, I think. But nonetheless, Councilmember Hort is very much correct. If you'd like to meet our, some of our deputies, I think the Mounted Patrol will be out there, but our deputies will be out there and their supervisors will be out there. So a chance to get to meet those folks, well as many other representatives and sponsors that the city has. Very good. Anything else I'm leaving out? All right, then. Let's go to 6. Community updates on active items, projects, community park projects. What, Mr. Tucker, why don't you take 6A and B?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For 6A, just a quick update on the fire station fields. We are getting near the end of that chip sealing project with the county. They've already laid all the material. All they're doing now is just sweeping up the excess rocks. And they're going to be finishing that this week and will be completely out of there. They've pretty much demobilized except for a couple small pieces of equipment. But we've already seen a great reduction on dust, and it's turned out to be a pretty good surface. And I think the Sports Association, as well as the fire department, and hopefully the neighboring areas, that dust reduction will help. So that's coming to an end.
Why don't you go ahead and mention Ashmore Farms?
Well, at Ashmore Farms, we've just started that road project as well. So they kind of broke the intersection repairs into pieces. That way they could still have navigation through the whole community. And we've made sure we're keeping updates to the webpage that kind of keeps people updated on how to get through that neighborhood. And so they are making good progress there. They are currently waiting on some lab testing before they'll start putting down the actual material. But they've gotten several intersections pulled out and they're making progress.
Everybody give Mr. Tucker a thanks for bringing technology to the forefront for public works and using the QR code to stay updated. Thank you, James.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we think that's a great way. People seem to have gotten really used to QR codes, so we're starting to do that with all the projects. So that's our intent moving forward is QR codes on project signs moving in, and we keep a web page updated with relevant information. So and that's been a collaborative effort. The request for better information on these projects came from our mayor and our administrative assistant, Emily. She's been doing fantastic to get that information in there. And Colton as well. He's actually the one putting this on there and keeping those links going. So we are kind of moving forward. We're trying to make that a very consistent approach so people get used to that going forward.
Yeah, there's a number of people involved in those type of things. But we appreciate it.
And then on item 6B, just public works equipment purchases. We had in the budget in the previous budget year a new vehicle for our building maintenance person, and we finally taken possession of that. It's a van that has partitions and stuff to hold, so it pretty much has all his equipment and supplies for any of the city facilities are in there and available to him on site. So it's just it should make that a much faster process of him getting things to where it goes without having to load and unload in a truck. So we've just taken possession of that, and we're looking forward to see how that works in.
Very good.
Thank you.
Asset Parkway construction, it is ongoing. Utilities movement and clearance. This affects phase 2, which is 156 westward. We do have an end in sight that all the utilities will be moved, and that will be in the approximately mid-November time range. So we're looking forward to that. And then construction can start. There will be several phases within getting to that point. One of our bigger crossings will be the I'll say excavation project will be that coming through to Schoolhouse Road. If you look up where just to the north of the old stairs that led to the old Haslett High School, you didn't know we used to have one. We did at the turn of the previous century in 1900 or so. All of that's got to be dug out. So there will be that plan, and what will happen there will Mr. Rogers will present that at the upcoming meeting, probably the next or the one after. All right, item 7 is consent agenda. Council, we have the consent agenda. Is there any item that you would like to pull? If not, if I could have a motion, please.
Mayor Halsey, I just had a question on 7E. Again, just to could someone maybe dumb that down to me a little bit on the, if that has any effect on the city or its residents?
It has an effect on the gas prices are going up. They've gone up at the Atmos's first proposal, I believe, was $156 million. We have a representative in Austin, a firm that helps negotiate these. I don't recall their name, but we've had them for a number of years. But there's a whole, and Jeremy, can you probably can speak better to this than I can, please.
Yeah, so City of Hazlet, like most cities, are part of a collection of cities that go and pretty much negotiate with Atmos to get a lower rate kind of than what Atmos initially proposes. And so they kind of go back and forth over a while, and then the rate that is ultimately agreed to is the one that is up for adoption tonight. And so those rates have gone into effect as of yesterday, and so this is really just more of a formality. And so there is a slight increase. The increase is less than what it was initially proposed by Atmos at the beginning of this whole process. And so, however, we still have to adopt it officially, again, just as a formality.
They did go, their initial request was $156 million, and it was negotiated down to $141 million, as I recall. So that was the effect of that.
Mayor Halsey, I move to accept the consent agenda as written.
Motion is made to accept the consent agenda as written. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There is a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Item 8, public hearings, ordinances, resolution, action items. 8A is discuss, consider, and act on nomination of candidates for appointment to the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors for 2023-2024 and approving the resolution as such. In the history of Haslett has never made any nomination. Now, we've always voted on after, which is a subsequent process to nominations, but Haslett has never made nominations. And I proposed 3 nominees. Their resumes are in the packet. They are actually have served on the board, actually on the board at this time. And Tarrant Appraisal District has issues, and they're beginning to be resolved. For those of you who've watched the news or keep up with TAD, is that the chief appraiser is the person that runs the Tarrant Appraisal District. that chief appraiser, the former chief appraiser, Jeff Laws, was recently removed by the Commissioners Court out and by a vote of no confidence. And there are other corrections to be made. Those board members who were an important part of that are the nominees that I proposed. That is Vince Piante, Gary Lasada, and I thought I had my paperwork in here, Richard Diott. They are refreshing. The taxpayer is their motivation. They have the taxpayers of Tarrant County in mind in all the work that they do. So I would propose that we get to make nomination, and so council, I would propose that we nominate those three gentlemen, Richard Diott, Gary Lasada, and Vince Piante.
Mayor Holsey, I had one question. Why did we go from 5 votes in 21 to 4 votes in 23? Do you know? I'm just curious.
Population.
But it's increased, so that's
I
why I
don't
was
know.
confused.
I don't know the mathematics behind that.
Okay.
That's for, that voting is for future. It might be, I'm guessing. I can get you a detailed explanation of it when I, for the coming meetings and before we actually cast our vote. Fort Worth, I'm wondering, Fort Worth probably, their votes increase?
I don't know. I just was looking back because
Yes.
Diott and Lasadas, who we voted on last time, so I was just looking back and saw that we had gone from 5 to 4 and was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know that specific answer. I'm sure the votes have to do with I don't know if there is a set number and they redistribute them. I don't know, but I'll find out and have someone from the Tarrant County to give us an explanation on that. And if we could write that down and serve as a reminder for me to follow up on that. Good. Any, do I have a nomination for any
Yeah.
candidate?
Mayor Halsey, I would like to nominate Gary Lasada, Richard Diott, and Vince Piante as candidates for appointment to the Tarrant Appraisal District Board of Directors for 2023, 2024, and approving resolution 2023.
Motion is made to nominate Mr. Gary Lasada, Rich Diott, and Vince Pointe for directors on the Tarrant Appraisal District for this coming election. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There's a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. 8B, discuss, consider, and act to approve the license agreement between the City of Hassett and the University of Texas at Austin for city property to be used as a seismometer data collection site. Mr. Tucker.
Mayor and council, this is an update to an existing arrangement we have between us and the University of Texas. This is for an ongoing seismic monitoring located at the back of the fire station field. So there's really no change to the existing arrangement. They just leave it there long-term for baseline monitoring for any kind of seismic activity.
We've had that location and that seismometer there for many, many years.
At least
It
since
is in a
2016.
fenced area back there. There are two wells that the Hass City owns. It's fenced. And that's inside that fence is where the seismometer is located. Any questions?
Mayor Holsey, I'll make a motion to approve the license agreement between the City of Haslett and the University of Texas at Austin for city property to be used as a seismometer data collection site.
Motion is made to approve the license agreement between the City of Haslett and the University of Texas at Austin for city property to be used as a seismometer data collection site. Is there a second?
I second that.
There is a second. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. UT Austin, thank you. Took 'em horns, huh? 8C, discuss, consider, act on approving an ordinance amending the city subdivision ordinance amendments required by House Bill number 3699 of the 88th legislature. Thank you, legislature. Mr. Jeremy, would you please?
Sure.
Mr. Page.
All right. So the legislature made lots of changes in this past session. House Bill 3699 was specific to the plating process, and that plating process is found in the city subdivision ordinance, which is what we're looking at amending to comply with that tonight. So the biggest changes that you'll see in here are regarding the completeness determination. So right now, when someone comes in and submits a plat, under the old law, we had 15 days, or we had, under our ordinance, we had given ourselves 15 days to make a completeness determination. And at the end of that completeness determination, that would be when the plat shot clock would begin. Under this new law, there's no longer an extended time period for an administrative completeness determination. Instead, the time in which the shot clock starts is the day in which the completed application is submitted. And so if it takes us 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to determine that, if it was complete the whole time, we don't have any additional time to actually to give ourselves time to comply with the shot clock. So, however, if they didn't submit a completed application, we're allowed to just send it back. No shot clock begins or ends or anything like that. And so that's kind of the biggest part. And so you'll see in our subdivision ordinance removal of what makes an application complete and when that starts, because that's no longer going to be applicable under the new law. The other thing that changed under this law was actually something that was beneficial to the city. Previously, plats would have to go through the appropriate P&Z and then council, and then this way, how they've modified it would be allow for an administrative determination that the plat be approved, and then if it's not approved administratively, then they could appeal it to the appropriate bodies, the P&Z and council, for them to either confirm the disapproval or approve it themselves. And so there's kind of a give and take on it. So there are some things that are to our benefit, some things that will make it a little more difficult with that, and so you see that under there. And then one last thing that I did make a change to, this doesn't have to do with the most recent law, but it is about what the procedures are for if an application is not complete. Previously, our ordinances created a very specific steps that we had to follow as to how to notify the applicant that their submission was incomplete. And that has kind of we've had some debate with some developers and applicants about whether or not we complied with that. And so now we are simply going to have the very basic requirement under state law, which is that we must notify the applicant of the missing items and return the application to applicant without all the extra steps that we had imposed on ourselves. And so we will still be required to notify them. We will still be required to return the application, which is what is required under state law. But all the previous requirements for whether it be receipted hand delivery, receipted email, those are all going to be taken out. So those are kind of the steps for now that we'll be doing to comply with state law. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have on that.
Mayor Holsey, I do have a question.
Please. And then Councilmember Tahira.
And when I was reading through this and everything, Jeremy, I was looking at all that time being, on the one side. Does this mean if they submit something, you said that there's still a shot clock, is that we still have to respond in a certain amount of time?
Yeah. Yeah, that is correct. So we still have to comply with all the shot clock requirements. How many days?
Let me throw in here. So shot clock, what is that? That's 30 days. Someone walks into building services or submits something to Mr. Schwanke or even our engineer. Someone from the city accepts a plat of sorts, be a preliminary plat, a subdivision, or a final plat, whatever. Their time starts at that moment, whether it's complete or not. It's incumbent upon the city to determine, is it complete or not complete? If it's not complete, or if they haven't paid their fees associated with it, we return it and notify them and tell them as such that this is not complete. That kills the clock. They have up to 45 days to resubmit with the correct information. Once we receive their application again, the clock starts again, and there again, we still have to review it. Does it mean they submitted everything they needed? Not necessarily. But let's say they do. Okay, then 30 days. We have 30 days. But we'll also notify them, you have a complete application. Your clock starts now. We have 30 days to get that through. First step, P&Z. We got two steps, P&Z and the city council. P&Z, if there is some reason we cannot make that time limit of 30 days, this Senate bill change gives the administrator, the mayor, the authority to approve, disapprove, or approve with changes. And that fills the Senate bill requirement. Then it goes to the city council and the same process. So I just want to explain what the 30-day shot clock was, or the shot clock. It's a 30-day period that we had to have it in front of the P&Z, or it's administratively answered in approval, disapproval, or approved with conditions.
That was sort of my question, Mayor and Jeremy, is the aspect, if someone decides they want to turn something in the day after P&Z meeting, that means you're not going to have another P&Z meeting for 30 days, and then you're not going to get it in front of the city council.
And let me add in something else that this House bill did that's actually very beneficial to cities is that it specifically authorizes city to establish application calendars so that that kind of situation doesn't occur, so that we can say you can only submit applications on this week or on these days, so that we give ourselves, so that way cities can have the appropriate amount of time to review it. And so some cities had already adopted that, but state law was unclear. It didn't say whether or not you could do that. And now it specifically says you may adopt application development calendars so that people aren't coming in, 5 minutes after P&Z, and then now all of a sudden we don't have 30 days to actually, there's not more than 30 days until the next meeting, perhaps. So that is something else that we would be able to do under the law.
And Mr. Schwanke, in conjunction with Mr. Page, are working on the calendar for the city of Haslett. All right, then.
I've got a question also. So you said that if someone submits a replat, it doesn't have to go through the P&Z now? So if the administrator approves it?
So only in situations in which it's been determined that there's insufficient time for P&Z to review it and to approve it within the 30 calendar days. And so otherwise, the standard process will still apply. So the goal is still to have all the plats still go to P&Z and as they normally do. But if there are situations in which there is not enough time, the mayor is now authorized to do so.
A good example, let's say a week before the planning and zoning meeting, Someone walks in with a replat as your example. Okay, well, there is no way we're going to get through that in 6 days. It's not going to happen. We couldn't get, well, we probably have to get through it in 2, so we could put it on an agenda. Not going to happen. But if it's a week before that meeting, so we're looking at 40 days before the next available P&Z meeting. In that case, they put in the administrator can approve or disapprove, so we can meet that clock.
And that way, also in case it is scheduled for a regular meeting, and then maybe there's some absences, and then there's not a quorum, or perhaps it gets canceled because of bad weather. All of a sudden, there's no body to approve it, and so now there is we can just have it done administratively. So again, that was actually very beneficial for cities to have this added in.
And the administrator would be Mr. Swanky or the mayor
No,
or
it'd be
both?
the mayor.
No, the mayor is the administrator of the city.
Okay, understood.
And so if they feel like that the mayor's decision was wrong in any way, they still have the right to appeal it to the P&Z, and then it would just go through the standard process again. But if the mayor approves the plat, then there would be no need for that to occur. It would just be approved, and then they would move on to the next step in the development process.
I had one question as well. So is this retroactive to anybody that's already turned in a plat or is already like maybe in the process right now? When does it start? Once it's
So
approved?
the ordinance would be effective after adoption. However, some of the changes are being made to comply with state law, which was effective September 1st. And so if there are certain parts of the law that are mandatory for the city to do, then those would be retroactive. But things that are permissive, so the ability for the mayor to administratively approve the plats, that would not be retroactive. That would only be from now on. But anything to do with like the administrative completeness determination, that's been retroactive. And so we haven't been able to enforce that part of our subdivision ordinance since September 1st.
Very good. Motion?
Mayor Halsey?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the city subdivision ordinance amendments required by the House Bill number 3699 of the 88th Legislature.
Motion is made to approve the ordinance amending the city's subdivision ordinance amendments required by House Bill number 3699 of the 88th Legislature. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Council. 8D, discuss, consider, and act to award the contract for the FM 156 Pump Station Improvement Project, competitive sealed proposal, award recommendation for automatic transfer switch and emergency backup generator to LJ Power. Mr. Tucker?
Mayor and council, myself and Chris Polidor with the Belchef's office, he's available. Yes.
Before we get started, I want to tell you in the executive summary, there is a Scribner error. Second paragraph starts out in February of 2022. That should be in February of 2023. Please proceed.
It's myself and Chris Polidor is online and available for questions for this item. As the mayor said, this is a request to award one of the 2 bids we had for a emergency generator for our expansion of our water pump station facility. And this is this is one of the long lead components. So there were several items that we requested to have at what our engineers request to have these awarded early ahead of the actual project due to the long lead of it. If there are specific questions about the generator, we'd be happy to answer those as we can.
Mr. Paladar, you got anything you want to add to that introduction?
No, I don't, but I'm available if there are any questions.
Very good. I am aware of one question with regard to performance, and Councilmember Broyles.
I also wanted to bring up that on this presentation, that it says scheduling would be, or be complete by the February 2024. But the lead time on this, I think it's going to take like 9 months to get it.
That's the engineering design for it.
Okay.
So in that background
All right,
information, the February 2024 would be the engineering design for the pump station.
Okay.
And so ahead of that design and all, they want to go ahead and order this component.
Okay.
Because
So
of
the
that
9
long
months
lead.
won't have.
Yeah, July of 2024, I believe, is when they actually expect this to
Right.
be.
So, Mr. Palador, you're online. Mr. Palador is with Belcheff and Associates. Please make a note to update the schedule and stating that that 9-month time frame is about engineering and design, to be explicit about that in the schedule.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. I have a question on Exhibit C, page 5 of the 9 of Exhibit C. I noticed on the third line, the liquid cooled by unit mounted radiator, blower fan, water pump, and thermostat. Have you found that?
Yes. Well, I'm aware of it. Yes.
Okay, so the bids, LG and McDonald, the difference, I noticed that on that item, that LG had, for the cooling, a 30 kilowatt, and McDonald's had 156 kilowatt. And so I don't know much about this, but that seems like a big difference. And is there a reason that we don't need 156, or does the generator we're getting only require the minimum, or what is the minimum that it requires?
The that category includes a number of items related to the cooling, and once I was able to download the actual technical data, other than what was provided by the bidder in their brochures, and looking at the technical data, some of the material in the brochures were incomplete or misleading, and so we can strike that. And what the intent was is to show the what's called a cooler rejection to exhaust energy, and so that actually has been replaced. And the changes are for Volvo engine, it'd be 540 kilowatts. And for the Taylor engine, it would be 586 kilowatts, which is the total energy that's released through the exhaust. It was using the fan power was kind of misleading, and 156 was also a misleading number because they all define things differently.
Okay.
And so I had to pull down the technical data actually from the manufacturers to decipher what was going on in the brochures.
Okay.
One thing I did want to add, you see 13G and 16G. 13G is 13 gallons. Actually, it's 12.62 gallons. That is the water capacity of the water cooling system. Likewise, on the other product, it was 16 gallons water in the cooling system. 30 kW, 156 kW, those are apples and oranges. The 30 kW, just to give you a little background, that was how much, you know, on every radiator there's a fan. Well, it's an electric fan, and that's how much energy that electric fan consumes, was 30 kW. So the wrong numbers were given. It was, as correct as Chris has noted, 540 kW for one, the Volvo engine, and 586 kW for the other engine.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right then. Anything you want to wrap up?
The only other thing is, in addition to Mike Anderson's recommendation, both David Rogers and myself and Chris Polidor also visited another site that this company had completed an installation on, and we found that the installation seemed very clean, and the product seemed as good as any. We're familiar with the transfer switch being offered. That's the one we actually prefer is an ASCO transfer switch. And the generator, they used both bids had the same actual generator. The engines were different, but both are reputable, and the enclosure looks suitable as well as the catwalk that was included that's not included as a part of the other bid.
I've got a question. The price difference between LJ Power and McDonald's about $54,000 and 72 days shorter lead time. Are these units pretty much the same? Or I saw that there was some differences now, and maybe that's the difference in the pricing, but is there a reason why there's such a big gap in each of the quotes?
I don't know.
James, if you want me to make a suggestion, the thing I could think of is LJ is a sole distributor and provider of the AKSA generating package. And in fact, the other bidder could get that type of package and include it in the bid. So I'm thinking there's maybe some overhead cost differences, but I don't know for sure.
But in your opinion, obviously, these two are comparable and they
Oh,
could
yes.
be used. Okay, thank you.
Let me, did you and David Rogers go on site to various users and speak to users of this same product?
So Chris Polidor and Belchester Associates, they did several references by phone. We did visit one site in Carrollton at a treatment plant, and that's the only one we looked at in person. But they look at the construction of the generator looks equal or better than the other generators we have within the city. So we saw no deficiencies as far as we felt they would be more than sufficient.
What about service? People that are in the Metroplex area to provide parts and service. Tell us about that.
Well, from what we actually, when we talked with the Colleyville rep, not the rep, but the actually operator of the system, they would call and they would have a service people there pretty much within 24 hours to work on the system or guide him through what has to be done. So they were very responsive. The other manufacturer, they have a nationwide network of repair folks, and they're pretty much not employees, or some of them are hired out contractors.
Yeah.
Okay.
In addition, the city typically contracts with one generator service to do maintenance of all of them, and they've yet to not work on one over the other. So given that they're using ASCO transfer switches and that the engines and that the generator are the same as that come in various other models, we don't anticipate any issue there. We haven't reached out yet, but traditionally they have covered any brand generator for maintenance.
So are you confident this will do the job?
If the electrical engineer with Belchev, which he is, have spec'd it that way,
No,
we're
I'm talking
absolutely.
about it as equipment. I didn't say about the size.
Well, I mean,
I'm
it's
talking about
equipment,
the
yes.
equipment itself.
Yes. Yeah, looking at the equipment looks well made as any. I mean, like I said, there's nothing I see that would lead us to believe that it would be an issue. So we feel it'll be more than adequate to carry the power for that pump station.
Very good.
I had one question. On the last sentence in the background information, it said once delivered to the site, the city's general contractor will be responsible for the installation and other things. So who exactly is that?
So that would be whoever the contract's awarded to. So once the bidding process for the whole job is out for bid, they will be responsible for the installation and maintenance and startup of that device.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mic was off. What the city is doing is, because this is such a long lead item, the city is pre-purchasing. It's called pre-purchasing the equipment for this job. And likewise, and another coming soon is a pre-purchase request for the pumps themselves. But this is, but still, the general contractor, whomever that will be responsible for the installation of it.
Yeah, as the mayor said, the project is supposed to go out for bid in July of '24, and that's a 330 calendar day build time. So if the lead time is nearly that much, they'd be waiting to the very last second to get that. So having those 2 items ordered ahead of the project only makes sense in order to complete it on time.
Any other questions? If not, may I have a motion?
Mayor Halsey, I'd like to make a motion to award the contract for the FM 156 Pump Station Improvement Project, competitive seal proposal award recommendation for automatic transfer switch and emergency backup generator to LJ Power Incorporated.
Motion is made to award the contract for the FM 156 Pump Station Improvement Project, competitive sealed proposal award recommendation for automatic transfer switch and emergency backup generator to LJ Power Incorporated. Is there a second?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, council. Item AE, discuss, consider, and act to appoint and reappoint applicants to serve as members on the city's boards and commission. So council, we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boards that we go out to annually, and we advertised on the website, and we got a number of applicants. And what I'd like to do is go board by board, and I do have proposals that I'll take the liberty to put your way. Library board, we had one applicant who is a non-resident, Mr. Charles Cannon. Library board does have stipulation. In fact, our ordinance has an overriding on all boards and commissions that the applicants must be a registered voter of Haslett, Texas. It means you're at least 18 years old, you're a registered voter, and you live within the city limits. Now, in the ordinance for the library board appointees, it states that if a position has been open for 4 months or more, that the council may appoint a non-resident. And this is such a situation here. We have a non-resident, Mr. Charles Cannon. We do have now the one position that has been vacant for 4 months or more is Place 8, alternate 1. That is the only one of all those that fall in that category. So I propose that Mr. Charles Cannon be appointed to Place 8, alternate 1.
So we can't put him in place 1 or 7 to
No,
be a
ma'am.
voting member.
Because they don't fall into that crowd. They haven't
Okay.
been vacant that
Okay.
long.
And then, okay, I'll write this down. So since place 1 didn't reapply and place 7 did reapply, so that's going to be a while before those have met that criteria
Yes.
if they stay vacant.
And understand between, starting, tomorrow, anytime anybody applies, we can, throughout the year, we can make these appointments.
So will they be able to meet if they only have 2 people? Do they need 3 for a quorum?
Oh, if you'll notice, the only places that are on here, unless it's vacant, are the odd places.
That's right, 2, 4, and 6 are still there.
Yes,
Okay.
they are. So they'll have
They'll be
have
fine.
more than
Okay.
sufficient for a quorum.
You're right, thank you. I didn't see my own notes.
And also with the alternate, if they should have, in this case, with their 7 places, regular members, if only 3 were to show up and the alternate was there, the alternate has a place as a full member for that meeting to make the quorum. Our rules that we passed last year state that. So, but we do. All of our even places are full.
Okay, one other question, sorry. And how many non-residents are they allowed to have on the library board? Is it just, can
It
they have
didn't
multiple?
stipulate how many.
Okay, good. So it doesn't say how many. Okay,
Correct.
perfect.
It just made the stipulation that that position had to be open 4 months or more.
So, I mean, in theory, could the entire library board be all non-residents in theory?
Well, I guess, I tell you what, we wouldn't want that to happen. We would not want that to happen. That means nobody in Haslett's interested in being on the library board. So, I don't want to answer a hypothetical.
Okay, I make a motion then to put Charles Cannon to the library board, place 8.
Motion is made to appoint our Charles Cannon to place 8, alternate 1 position on the library board. Is there a second?
Mayor Holsey, I'll second.
There's a second. All in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Excuse me. Park Board. Again, we have 4 open positions, 2 regular places, 2 alternate positions. One of the applicants, Ms. Micah Malone, is a non-resident. The place 8, alternate 1 falls in that category. Now, I'll say this non-resident, this is the only board that had, these 2 boards that had that stipulation. So I propose that place 1 be Stephanie Grace, place 3 be James Watkins. Place 8, alternate 1 is Micah Malone. Place 9, alternate 2 be Matthew Clark.
I got a question. For Micah Malone, she listed her address as Hazlet, and it says she's a non-resident.
We understand the postal system.
Right.
She lives in Fort Worth.
I just wondered if she should reapply and put the Fort Worth address, so there's no.
She doesn't have a Fort Worth address. She has a Haslett address due to the postal system. She is not a resident within the corporate limits of the city of Haslett.
Okay. It does. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that it.
No, that's
There's no
why she has
discrepancies
a
in her
Haslett
application.
address.
Okay.
But she does not live in the corporate city limits. So let me say that again. To be a resident of Haslett, it means you're a resident within the corporate city limits of Haslett, Texas. Now, we know there's 40,000 other people out there, 10 times more than what's in Haslett, that has a Haslett address. I told Mayor Maddie Parker there's 40,000 people out there that think I'm their mayor. And I told them they get free water and don't have to pay taxes.
I just didn't want there to be a discrepancy, and then this
There's
application
none.
is not valid. So okay.
There is none.
And the reason I asked about the non-resident, because I think the Parks Board's only allowed 1 non-resident. Is that correct?
Is it?
I believe so.
I can confirm that, but right now we only have 1 to consider. But that's a good, please, will you check that, and I can email the council on that update, confirm that.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Stephanie Grace.
Excuse me.
Oh,
I just, listen to this. Well, it's not a question. I really don't know anybody here personally, but I would like to kind of look at place 3 on this and really take a look at this Matthew Clark. he did have one reference on here.
Okay, well, all right. Are you making a motion
Well,
to
you threw out,
placement? I mean, Councilman, I heard you start,
well,
I
you-
guess, clearing your throat before Councilmember
I don't know,
Morrow
you
started.
made a proposal with names, so I was gonna make a proposal with names. I don't know, should I just make a motion?
You may go ahead, Councilman Horak.
I was just gonna say, before I make the motion, should we discuss before the motion or after the motion with these things? How do y'all wanna do it?
Well, make your motion.
I'll make a motion for the park board for place one, Stephanie Grace. Place three, Matthew Clark. Get him right here. Place 8, Micah Malone. And then place 9, James Watkins.
All
For
right,
the next
motion
2-year
is
term.
made for the library board,
Park board.
or I mean, sorry, the park board is Stephanie Grace. Place 1. Place 3 is Matthew Clark. Place 8, alternate 1 is Micah Malone. And place 9, alternate 2 is James Watkins. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Very good. Okay, now we can, once it's seconded, we can discuss it. Or you entertain your question.
Okay, yeah, I have a question, because do these that are already in place have to be reappointed? So did we have to include those in our motion?
You know, that is a good point. We need to do that. So we'll go back. Let's finish up park board. Did you, okay?
Let me amend my motion and add for place 5, Serge Richard, and place 7, Dana Horak.
I'll second that amended motion.
Very good. You'd been in trouble if you didn't do that.
We'd all be in trouble here.
All right. So it's been amended and seconded. Let me clarify. Place 1 is Stephanie Grace. Place 3 is Matthew Clark. Place 5 is Serge Richard. And place 7 is Dana Horick. Place 8, which is alternate 1, is Micah Malone. Place 9, alternate 2 is Matthew Clark. So that is what you're voting on. Oh, I'm sorry, James Watkins. Thank you very much. That's James Watkins, place 9, alternate 2. All right then. It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, excuse me, we're a little late there.
So I'm gonna, mine will be a nay, because I'd like to have discussed this on the aspect of what the difference between the two. That's what I'm trying to look at. the
There is no
resumes.
difference.
What's the difference between the two? Why you made one recommendation and why you're making a different recommendation?
It makes no difference. It doesn't.
It doesn't make any difference?
No,
Okay.
I don't see any difference. I mean, they. Okay, all right, so
So
let me, all right, we're gonna finish this out. We had a motion and a seconded, I call for the vote. And so, and on the vote that is, that we had, that we've gone through, let's finish that vote. All in favor?
Aye.
3, 4, all opposed?
Nay.
2 opposed. Motion passes. Okay, council, let me refresh, is that a motion is made. The technicality of, I'll say, Robert, a motion is made. If it's not second, you don't talk. There's nothing to discuss, because the motion didn't even make a vote. So a motion is made and it's seconded. If you have something you want to talk about, raise it at that time, right after that second.
That's what I just did. I was
But
trying-
I had
that's what was
already
trying-
called for the vote. We were in the middle of the vote.
I think I think I
Huh?
mentioned, I brought it up before you actually, I said, wait a
Did I?
second. Yeah, I said, I'd like to discuss this.
Okay, please, if you just go, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah. So-
I get that.
Yeah.
All right? That's calling the chair down, right there. I apologize if we made an order, but, the motion is passed,
That's fine, that's fine.
and I
So-
think the candidate selections are fine. They're good.
Mayor Halsey?
Yes.
So do we need to go back to do the library board?
Yes, ma'am,
now?
we do.
Okay, how do we do that?
All right, is that we already have nominated the one position. So for place 3 and place 5, we need to make a motion. We're going back to the library board for place 3 and place 5. So if I could have a motion for place 3 and place 5, you have the two existing or sitting members who like to be reappointed.
Mayor, I'll make a motion for the library board to reappoint place 3, Candy Letica, and place 5, Leah Preston, for the next 2-year term.
Motion is made for the library board. Place 3 is Candy Letica. Place 3, Candy Letica. Place 5 is Leah Preston. Is there a second?
I second that, Mayor.
There is a second. Any discussion? Huh. All right then. Any?
Nope.
All right. All in favor? 4-4. Is that? Oh, 5-4. Okay. There's 5-4 on that vote. Thank you, council. All right. You'll get me trained. Okay. Planning and zoning. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positions open. And I believe it is. Yes, that includes the reappointment one, so I don't miss this. My suggestions are as follows. For place 1 is Frank Gatto. I'm sorry. I can't even read my notes. Place 1 is Mr. Matthew Hayes. Place 3 is Greg Kadesh. Also with Mr. Greg Kadesh being president of that board. In our ordinance, we have to designate that person. Place 5 would be Mr. Chuck Sackett. And place 6, alternate 1, would be Seraphin Miranda. And place 7, alternate 2, would be Mr. Frank Gatto. I'll repeat that. My suggestion is place 1 being Mr. Matt Hayes. Place 3 being Mr. Greg Kadesh, also as chairman. Place 5 is Mr. Chuck Tackett. Place 6, alternate 1, is Seraphin Miranda. Place 7, alternate 2, is Mr. Frank Gatto.
Mayor Halsey, did Mr. Gatto, because he put on his application, his first choice was type B. He would, and then planning and zoning was his second choice. Is there something that, I mean, he would rather be on P and Z, or he wants to be on both boards?
He
Do you
wants on
know?
both.
He wants on both? And is there a reason that someone that reapplied isn't getting reappointed?
Mr. Matt Hayes will do a very good job in place 1.
Yeah, he's done a great job. But,
Those are my proposed nominations.
so the person in,
Someone needs to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, please. I would like to appoint, let's see what I had here. Dennis Hilborn, place 1. Greg Kadesh as chair, place 3. Chuck Tackett, place 5. Seraphin, make sure I have this right. Seraphin Miranda, place 6, alternate 1.
And you got one more. Place
And-
7.
Place 7, Matthew Hayes.
Okay, motion is made for place 1 is Mr. Dennis Hilborn. Place 3 is Mr. Greg Kadesh as chair. Place 5 is Mr. Chuck Tackett. Place 6, alternate 1 is Seraphin Miranda. Place 7, alternate 2 is Matthew Hayes. Is there a second?
Mayor, I'll second that.
There is a second. Any discussion? No discussion. I call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
2-4. All opposed?
Hey,
3 opposed. Motion fails. Is there a different?
Mayor Holsey?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Matthew Hayes, place 1 on Park P and Z. Place 3, Greg Kadesh. Place 5, Chuck Tackett. Place 6, alternate 1, Seraphin Miranda. Place 7, alternate 2, Frank Gatto.
Let me ask, you did not include a designation of one of those positions
And
being
Greg-
chair.
Place 3, Greg Kadesh as chair.
All right, then. Motion is made. Excuse me. Place 1 is Matthew Hayes. Place 3 is Mr. Greg Kadesh as chair. Place 5 is Mr. Chuck Tackett. Place 6, alternate 1 is Mr. Seraphin Miranda. Place 7, alternate 2 is Mr. Frank Gatto. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
Here's a second. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Yes.
I would like to, go ahead.
No, I'm curious why we want to replace Dennis Hilburn in place 1. It seemed like, is there a personal vendetta against Mr. Hilburn?
No. I've got a motion. They don't have to explain their motion. They don't have to explain why they have any preference.
Okay, my discussion is you said Matthew Hayes would do a great job in place 1. I agree. Is Dennis Hilborn not doing a good job in place 1? My discussion question.
I'll give my personal opinion if I may. Mayor.
Sure.
Halsey, on the aspect is that this is one that I really liked on the aspect. We got a lot of interest in P&Z. And again, in past history, we've always looked at the aspect, we always wanted to move the alternates up into positions, especially if they've been serving as an alternate for some period. And that's probably the biggest reason that I looked at this saying, okay, yes, we probably ought to look at replacing one of the people that is already on there or not. And then I got feedback from quite a few people on emails of that's who that they looked at they would want to replace. And so I got feedback from people here in Hazlet that have said, okay, I'd like Matthew Hayes to move up, and we received feedback that would be the one. So that's the reason I'm.
Okay, thank you for that. So for people that have been on alternates for a long time, if I'm looking correctly, Matthew Hayes has been an alternate since 2021. So that's enough time to go ahead and move him up in your opinion?
Well, again, we've been pushing to try to get more and more people interested in the, and so as we're getting people that are applying, I'd like to make sure that those people that are applying that are interested are getting part of it. They're getting.
I agree. He's already there. So he's just reapplied. If it's about new people, then Greg Kadesh has been on there since 2003, and Mr. Hilborn's been there since 2019. So I don't know if that's a good argument of new people if we're looking at who
I'll
has been
say
there the
there is a
longest.
performance issue.
With Mr. Hilborn?
Performance, yes.
Can you elaborate?
No, I will not
Then-
elaborate
So you're just
here.
going to say it's a performance issue
I
and
will
that's
not
it?
elaborate here, council member.
I mean, I watch all the P&Z meetings.
So there is a
Performance
motion
issue.
and a
Okay,
second. I'm not going to speak ill of anyone.
You said that's a performance issue. Okay.
So, any further questions? Otherwise, I call
Let
for
me
the vote.
think. My other question is if Seraphin...
Excuse me, I've called for the vote.
No, we're still discussing, I thought.
Hmm?
I thought we were allowed to discuss.
I've called for the vote.
So earlier you asked us to say, Mayor, get your attention. So can we discuss a little more, please, before we vote?
One more, I'll have to entertain another question.
Thank you. So if Seraphin, I guess my concern is if Seraphin has already also applied for type B and Mr. Gatto did, but Mr. Gatto only put one item on his request, will he be serving on two boards, or is he, I guess
thought-
when people are applying for more than one board.
Did
and we
Mr.
have
Gatto
people-
apply for one position or two?
Mr. Seraphin, so I'm talking, or Mr. Miranda, excuse me. Oh, they both did?
They both applied for two.
So we're going to take off someone that wanted to reapply to put someone that applied it for two. I'm just being clear, I guess, making sure I understand. So we're taking off someone that reapplied, a citizen that wants to serve, and putting someone else when there's another spot they could serve.
That's right.
Okay?
All right. I call for the vote. All in favor? 3, 4, all opposed? 2 opposed. The motion passes. CIAC is not being addressed. P&Z fulfills CIAC.
Actually, Mayor Halsey, I had a question about CIAC.
And what's that question?
So when I was going through and looking at this, I contacted the people that didn't reapply just to make sure they didn't reapply. And when I talked with Place 7, T.Y. Caraway, she said she did want to continue to serve, but she wasn't contacted to reapply. So I don't know. I asked her, I was like, did you receive a phone call? She said no. They have no internet, she said. And they said the only communication, it would be through snail mail. So can we reappoint her to Place 7 since she wasn't notified and she does want to serve?
I think we should do that at the next council meeting because she has not, now she has always had internet service. I know they were
I don't think she was lying to me. She just said she didn't have internet service at all.
that she's never had it.
No, she said she doesn't have it.
Well, I didn't say she
That's
was.
true?
So
Okay, well,
we'll take that up at the next meeting so that we can verify that that's what she wants.
okay.
So if we would note that, it would be the CIAC
Place 7?
Place 7, and for the council and others, for CIAC, there is a requirement that one of the members be a resident of the ETJ. That is unique to that position. So we will verify that with Ms. Caraway.
Thank you.
And take that up at our October 16th council meeting. All right then. Otherwise, all the positions of P&Z transfer to the IAC. HEDC, that's Haslett Economic Development Corporation. This is type A board. All the members of that board have requested to be reappointed. That board is functioning very well. They do a great service. I propose that you reappoint each one of those members.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to appoint to the HEDCA Board Place 1, Stuart Sherry, Place 3, Candy Litica, Place 5, Hildreth Macon, and Place 7, Alternate 2, Paul Wallach.
Motion is made to appoint on the HEDC board is Place 1, Stuart Shirey. Place 3 is Candy Litica. Place 5 is Hildreth Macon. Place 7, Alternate 2 is Paul Wallach. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I second.
There is a second. Any discussion? All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? 5-0. Thank you. HCEDC Board. This is the Type B EDC. I propose that you would, we have 2 existing members that are requesting reappointment. That is Place 1, Kathy Brandon, and also Place 7, Kitty Wirtz. But in place 1, I propose is Kathy Brandon. Place 3 is Ben Drury. Goes by Todd is his nickname. Place 4 would be Laura Slaughterhoff. Place 5, Tony Marlowe. Place 7, Kitty Wirtz. Place 8, alternate 1, is Seraphin Miranda. Place 9, alternate 2, is Frank Gatto.
Mayor Halsey,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to appoint to the HCEDCB Board, Place 1, Kathy Brandon, Place 3, Benjamin Drury, Place 4, Laura Schlotterhoff, Place 5, Tony Marlowe, Place 7, Kitty Wirtz, Place 8, alternate 1, Seraphin Miranda, Place 9, alternate 2, Frank Gatto.
The motion is made to appoint on the HCEDC Board is Place 1, Kathy Brandon. Place 3, Benjamin Drury. Place 4 is Laura Slaughterhoff. Place 5 is Tony Marlowe. Place 7 is Kitty Wirtz. Place 8, alternate 1, is Seraphin Miranda. Place 9, alternate 2, is Frank Gatto. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There is a second. Any discussion?
Yes, I talked with Mr. Ayer. He said that he meant to put type B on his application, so I'm not sure if there's anything you can do about that. But now we have type B with 3, I believe Mr. Drury's also on another board. So there's 3 people on type B that are doing double duty. I believe that's correct.
I think Candy Litica is also
Oh,
on
and
several
Candy, so
boards.
4.
Yeah.
She's on 3 of them.
So 4 people, oh, not on that one. On type B, I was talking about, sorry, are doing multiple things. So we might want to look at making sure that we're getting a good representation of all of Haslett, is my comment.
I think that the citizens have done an excellent job of getting people in all the subdivisions, and we've been missing that for a while now, trying to get them involved. And so we have all of them, with the exception of Watercrest, and hopefully as they come in, they'll get involved. But I think we have a good representation now of all of them without being top-heavy in any one
I agree. We have
subdivision.
vacancies after we passed the alternate. Can't really do anything. We had a lot of vacancies, and a lot of people didn't reapply. So it's very nice to see people wanting to get out and serve.
And also, I would ask the applicants, pay attention to what you're applying for.
Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah.
They applied, this one that you mentioned, Mr. Ayer applied for A.
Right, and so did, Mr. Miranda applied for, he got what, yeah, that's,
Ms. Miranda applied for B.
he also, we applied for P and Z, number 1.
Yeah, well, that's fine. There was openings there. Mr. Ayer
There
applied
weren't
for
openings, we
something
we
that
created
there
an
were
opening.
no openings.
We created an opening.
So, very good. All right.
Thank you.
So anybody have anything else they'd like to make a comment on or discuss? I call for the vote. So, all in favor? 5-0. Thank you, council. I will say this, it's been in a long while, there's been a good turnout from citizenry wanting to work on the boards, and that's a great thing. I think we have a very good or a representation throughout the city. So let's go to 9, executive session. There is no need for executive session. 10 is mute. 11, future agenda items. We have one, I know at least, we're going to address the CIAC at the upcoming October 16th meeting. What was the other item that we had during the discussion, that reminder?
We have a question about, does the park board have a limit on non-residents?
Okay, that won't be a agenda item, but I will email the council that ordinance and highlight that, whether they do or don't. All right, is there any agenda item? All right, item 12, adjourn. May I have a motion?
Mayor Halsey, I move to adjourn.
This motion is made, adjourn. Second?
Mayor Holsey, I second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you, council. Doug.